really we're just back to 1 year ago's numbers overall, but we'll probably get into that in the 2.1. Okay, so we'll go to move. All those in favor of the 3 items for information? Okay, that passes unanimously. So Councillor Martin, let's start with you. You wanted 7.2.1, the statistical package separated for discussion. Go for it.
Yeah, there's a chart called call types as a percentage of total calls. It lists interfacility transfers. I'm just wondering why we're still doing those. I thought that was going to be done by private services to free up ambulances for emergencies.
It's a good question. I'm assuming that's Russell King. Russell, do you want to step in here and answer that for Councillor Martin?
Good morning. We've been doing this for almost 9 months and I still don't know where the mute buttons are or the video buttons. So interfacility transfers could be a multitude of different things. If a hospital or facility does call the ambulance service to book a transfer, first of all, we cannot refuse it. We've done our best to educate the hospital staff and other locations to book it through a private transfer service, but we can't. But those interfacility transfers also can include psych calls down to McMaster. If we have to take somebody down to McMaster, people going down to the heart investigation unit or the cath lab for their STEMIs and stuff. So there are still a few interfacility transfers, but not as many as it was before.
Okay, and my other question is regarding the code zeros. There's a table that shows when other EMS services run calls in Brantford Brant and when we run calls outside. Do they ever coincide? Like, are we ever calling somebody in because one of our ambulances is out doing a call somewhere else?
The coinciding would be that even if our vehicles are out of town doing interfacility transfers, they could be called in, but that's not the way the system works, right? It makes a bigger circle. So I would say no to your question that they're calling us in when they're in trouble. We're calling them in when we're in trouble at that point in time. We've had situations where we've had 14 to 18 ambulances at the Brantford General when we're only staffed for 9 during the day. And the same thing that happens in Hamilton, right? They're staffed for 32 trucks in a day, I believe, and sometimes they are overwhelmed as well. But those numbers are down for us right now, which is really good that we've been able to work out other solutions. As Mark said at the very beginning, or Councillor Laferriere said at the beginning, we're trying to come up with other solutions. Yourself, Councillor Pierce, and everybody else said it would be great to have these other programs to kind of offset what we're doing in the background, and it shows that they're working, or it could also be some of the effects of COVID as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Mayor Davis, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to Chief King. Good morning, Chief. A couple of questions for you regarding projections. Found, I think it's pages 9 and 10 of your report. First of all, at page 9, you're showing the historical analysis of time on task and hospital offload times for the last 5 years. And I see last year looks like it has improved, but I'm hearing lots of anecdotal evidence. No, it's worse. I know last year was this hodgepodge of pre-COVID, after COVID, lockdowns, not lockdowns. What are you experiencing currently? Is that trend, which I guess I would say is a gradual improvement of that situation, is that taking hold, or is it getting worse, getting better?
Well, as you said, Mayor Davis, it's been in and out of COVID, not COVID, releases, lockdowns, right? So I took a look at the statistical information I provided you by month comparison from 2020 to 2019. When we started really relaxing a lot of the restrictions out there in the community, if you started looking at the months of May from the chart, I have it on myself, page 2, but the column is 2020 monthly call volumes and 2019 comparisons. When we started relaxing things, the call volume started going up to, in June, it was 1,900. In July, it was 2,100. And in August, we peaked at a 10% greater than what it was in 2019. In September, our call volumes were okay, but back in November, we also went up by another 10%. If that is a reflection of what we may receive in 2021 or 2022 moving forward, I'd anticipate we would lose the call volume decrease of 7.6% this year. And I've said it very marginally increased our call volume by 4%. So if you look at my chart projected for 2021, we'll go up to about 26,554 calls. I've included the 7% reduction and a 4% increase, give us a little bit of a buffer. But if August and November, when our restrictions were basically at the most relaxed right now, we saw a 10% increase in our month-over-month call volume.
You're on mute.
So further to that, Chief, when you did the 2021 projections, when did you assume that we'd be moving out of a very restrictive regimen and
I
going into
projected,
something like last?
sorry, Mayor Davis, I projected April, May.
Hopefully you're right.
I hope so too.
Yeah, I hope
Right,
we can add
thank you, Chair.
prognostication. No worries. I hope we can add prognostication to Russell's list of skills.
I would just like to add one more thing, is that
Please.
people have been basically locked down for a year. When we start releasing restrictions, we think it's just, and minus the terminology, things are just going to get stupid. Everybody's going to be going out. Everybody's going to be going everywhere, making up for lost time, right? It's everything that has been in a box for a year is going to be released. And I think that's going to affect ourselves, our services, all that we support throughout the community. I think there's going to be a huge increase.
Hope for the best and plan for the worst. Either Mayor Davis or Clerk Boyd, can I get you to lower the hand just so I'm not confused as to if you have another question? Thank you. Okay, any other questions about this item 7.2.1? Good discussion. Yeah, you could actually overlay COVID anxieties and call volumes on a pretty interesting one-to-one chart, looking at decreasings and increasings. Flipped. Okay, so let's vote on that. Can I get a mover? Mayor Bailey, and a seconder, Councillor Martin. All those in favor? And that carries unanimously. Okay, now we're going to move to our staff report. We got a verbal report from the director. We'll move it after speaking.
Good morning, and through you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple highlights of actually good news that we've had to go through this year. Our call volume has been impacted by COVID-19, and we continue to monitor it very, very closely. We all don't know what's going to happen at the end of it. We've begun working with the BGH on an offload task force, Michael Bradley, myself, and the directors at the BGH, of coming up with solutions to deal with our offload delays. As we can see, we are down to 31 minutes on average, even during COVID, which is great. One of the things we put into place is our supervisors and management teams have a SAD CAD dashboard, which tells us our vehicle utilization like a speedometer. It's live. It can tell us down to the last minute on how many vehicles we are. And also when we get to status 2 and status 0, our supervisors and the management team at the BGH are paged, letting us know what status that we're in. Our status, or basically our vehicle deployment, fluctuates throughout a 24-hour day. By that notification, right, the hospital staff know that in the community we only have 2 vehicles or 0 vehicles, or we're actually healthy staffed at 4 or 5, depending on the time of day, which has been a great benefit to us. We can see it live. Our system usage, as it says in my report, is down to 89% capacity. We anticipate to reach 100% again in 2021, and hopefully out of COVID by April, May of this year, or working towards it. Our code zeros have decreased, and in previous reports, we've also had the province have their new dispatch MPDS radio system, which is now delayed to the end of this year or early into 2022, which will benefit us, but we can't do anything else dealing with COVID. Over the past year, we've utilized your request as well as utilizing the province as getting additional funding for our CP programs. Our CP program has grown immensely. We did get a funding letter for 3 years for the long-term care program. Rumor has it right now that there's going to be increased funding more for day-to-day CP programs and long-term care programs. The funding that Mayor Davis and Mayor Bailey were involved in, we were one of the first 5 services to receive the funding for the long-term care program, which we had the opportunity to build the budget and design it for the rest of the province. Now the province has rolled it out in 29 other services, and they are set to launch within the next few months. Back in 2018, when I became the director, we thought we would start rebranding ourselves. We started very simply with a new crest. Last year, we did our new logistics vehicle, which is that big blue one for community and also support through our paramedics. And now, as you can see, attached to our report is a new vehicle design for new vehicles coming in and our new supervisor ERVs that will arrive in mid-February and into April. And also right now, our ACP students that we've started in class in 2019, they were supposed to be ready in summer of 2020. They're back to class right now, and hopefully they'll be graduated on the road for us by May or June, depending on the provincial finalization of their exams that they have to deal with. That's all I have for now. I'm just trying to spread a little bit of good news for everybody since we've had a very tough year.
Excellent. Any questions for Russell on anything brought up? No. Oh, Mayor Davis, yes, and then Councillor Martin.
First, I'll lower my hand.
Okay, great.
Chief, I was looking at the new ambulance design. So what improvements are you building into that over the last version?
We are going away from the standard Ministry of Health. We are trying to be unique. We are trying to build brand ourselves to also include the County of Brant and the County of the City of Brantford designs in our overall logo. Most services, I would say 95% of all the services in the province have their own unique ambulance design right now for their own vehicles. It was just our progression. Back in 2018, we're not going to do it all at once, and this is our slow progression moving forward.
So any functional improvements?
Currently, no, there's no functional improvements. As we discussed in our other meeting, we've elicited in 2017, the auto load and power load stretchers to also save on the backs of our medics. Every vehicle moving forward will have that. And since 2017, we have not had one WSIB claim to deal with back injuries for loading and unloading the stretchers. So it's really saved us a lot in the long term.
Great, thanks, Chief. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Martin, then Councillor Pierce.
Yeah, Russ, you got 2 different designs for the supervisor vehicle. Which one are you going with?
We are going with both. The 2 of the vehicles that we are receiving are for the long-term care program that does not have supervisor on it. That's the only difference.
Okay.
On the secondary vehicle has the branding of supervisor on it, right? So that we don't get it mixed up at a scene or a call.
Okay, because it shows 2 designs, one with a curved
It looks
banner
like
and one with a
supervisor.
straight banner.
My apologies. It should have been the one with the curved banner. I sent you the wrong file, or I included the wrong file, and they're both with the curved banner, but one will say supervisor, one will not.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pierce, then Councillor Sluss.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, if I could just add on to what Mayor Davis was saying there to you, Russ, in regards to anything you've done to, you spoke of the stretchers, the auto stretchers and stuff like that. Is there anything that you can see that you would like to add or would require to add to the ambulances to make them more efficient for the users of them?
Through you, Council Chair, what we've done is we've reverted all of our vehicles to save on cost to make them gasoline. We have our monitors that are attached to our stretchers right now. And as we brand or buy new additional vehicles, right, we continue to add new features, trying to keep the cost down. It's something as simple as the red light the opticons on our vehicles to change the red lights, and also the howlers and the grills, so that people that may have loud music or cannot hear us in front, right? It also adds a vibration to the vehicle in front of us. But right now, I think our vehicles are well fully loaded right now, and I do appreciate the ask.
Okay, thank you. Glad to hear that.
Councillor Sluss.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Russell, are electric ambulances a thing? Is there any service using electric vehicles?
Currently, our neighbors in Oxford have just started their trial with electric vehicles. They have purchased 2 last year. We have not heard any pros or cons as of yet. So we're waiting for the other services to do the lead work, and then we'll look at if it's a benefit to ourselves.
Okay, and what about the vehicle portion of your fleet? Like you've got 2 different models here as far as what they would look like. Have you looked into electric and replacing gas there as well?
Not at this time. We were working with our provider for the vehicles, and they have not done any conversions on the ERVs to electric vehicles at this time, so it would not be an option. In the future, if there is an option, I'd be more than glad to look at that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Just on that, we have at the county some work we've been doing on the electric vehicle front. So we'd be happy to, if it's appropriate, staff maybe can share what we found so far with the paramedic service. Okay, any other questions? And Councillor Sluss, I'll get you to put your hand down just in case you have a question later. Okay, can I get a mover of the report just to receive this information? Mayor Bailey and a seconder, Mayor Martin, Councillor Martin. MPP Martin, MP Martin, but you can just give any title here. Yeah, okay, we have it moved. Anybody, all in favor? Opposed, if any? And it is carried. Okay, we have no communications, no other business. We have a piece here around labor relations or an employee negotiation matter around collective bargaining. We need to go in camera for. Can I get a mover to go in camera? Mayor Bailey, seconder, Councillor Pierce. All those in favor of moving in camera? And that carries. We'll just wait to hear from the clerk. Anything else for the good of the paramedic services of both our municipalities? Okay, so next meeting at the call of the chair. But as soon as we hear anything that's important, we will get in touch. Or we can talk about this actually right now. It's sort of new business, but do we want to schedule these again now that we're back into the new year to have them a regular quarterly on a certain day? And if so, perhaps the best thing to do would be to connect with Heather and we can get our clerk to schedule those again or not. Mayor Davis.
Thank you, Chair. Again, I'll lower my hand as my first act. There. So one thing we might consider, we've gone this way at the city, and that's not to say we have to do it, but so we've moved away from call of chair to setting up a regular schedule for whatever the meeting or task force is. Maybe it's monthly, maybe it's quarterly, maybe it's bi-monthly, and then leaving it to the chair to be able to, cancel a meeting if it's pretty clear there's no need to have a meeting. That might be a good idea. I'm going to suggest it because we've had some scheduling issues in the past year, and that'd be a good way of avoiding that.
Yeah, no, I actually agree. I think actually we are set up to be quarterly. We did vote on that, but then COVID hit and we moved some stuff around due to pandemic issues. So, maybe we should just go back to the quarterly meetings that we had set up. And again, we can always add an extra meeting if we need to, or we can always cancel one if we don't have much to talk about, as you're saying. But we are technically mandated based on our previous votes to do a quarterly meeting. So, for a year at least. Councillor Pierce, you had your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I totally agree with Mayor Davis there, and this is just my own personal that it definitely works better for me to have them scheduled out. Like it doesn't matter to me when they are, but if I'm aware of them, they're in my calendar, then I can work around them. It's much better. And if it's quarterly, then I do recall us voting on that. If it's quarterly, that's fine, or bi-monthly, regardless of that. If they're scheduled, it works much better for me. So appreciate the statement there, Mr. Davis.
Heather, Clerk Boyd, we had a previously scheduled time and spot settled previously. I said previously twice, but if could you remind us of when exactly that was? I tend to remember possibly it was like a Wednesday afternoon or something. I can't remember, but we did have something regular quarterly. So do you have that information available?
Just give
See
me
if
one
that still
second. I'm just
works.
looking into where we were in 2019, which I think is about when we had that schedule. Looks like we were Wednesdays at 1:30 p.m. Usually like the third Wednesday of the month, looks like.
Yes, it was. That's right. Mayor Davis.
Yeah, the other thing too, again, I'll lower my, it's awkward, this new program, you lower your hands. Anyways, we also can anticipate, the one big decision. Well, there's lots of decisions we make through the year, but obviously a really critical one is budget. And to avoid what happened last year, do you think the quarterly meetings, does that fit into the budget process, or should we be building in, maybe we should be going bi-monthly, or at least having a meeting, maybe a special budget meeting in July or August or something?
Yeah, no, I think that,
whatever.
yeah, no, I think that makes sense because we've had, I mean, again, this was a COVID year and it was kind of funny. It would have worked out had we been doing the quarterlies still, but I think that when we were meeting monthly, there wasn't enough to discuss. So that didn't work. Meeting quarterly and having a special budget meeting probably makes the most sense. But we've also talked about the bi-monthly, and that could work too. Councillor Pierce.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, and I would totally support a bi-monthly, because as Mayor Davis said, if we get into a month where there's, it doesn't really, if we want to call it, make sense, or not enough on the agenda to meet, why then we can, if need be, we can cancel that meeting. But I think bi-monthly probably would be best, and as I say, as long as they're scheduled, everybody knows, and whatever works best for everybody, then that's what we go with. But I would be in favor of bi-monthly.
So why don't I recommend this and see if there's an agreement around the table. Every 2 months, the third Wednesday of every month at 1:30. So that would be January, March, May, et cetera, et cetera. Mayor Davis. Oh, did you lowered your hand before?
I was going to suggest that, and I don't know whether you want a resolution or are you going to do it just as chair? So.
Heather, what makes the most sense? We kind of already have a resolution on the books for quarterly, but if we want to move to bi-monthly, should we make it an official resolution, or?
It's probably fair since we do have a recommendation for quarterly. So for changing that, we should do it by resolution.
Okay, so does somebody want to make a motion? Yeah, Mayor Davis.
Mr. Chair, seeking a seconder, I would move that for this year, we'd reconsider it next year, that we meet on a bi-monthly meeting schedule with the option to the chair to cancel a meeting if there is no need to have a meeting.
Is there a seconder for that? Councilor Pierce? Any discussion?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, that's going to be the third Wednesday, 1:30, correct?
Yeah, I believe that makes the most sense to go back to that, because it tended to work previously, and if it doesn't, we'll discuss. But we also have options to, if somebody can't make it, then they can also be replaced, and et cetera, et cetera. So
makes sense.
Okay, so any other discussion on that? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carries unanimously. So our next meeting, take out my calendar, will be March 17th at 1:30, probably via Zoom. St. Patrick's Day via Zoom. We can have green mugs, but no green beer inside of them. Okay.
Isn't it the way you go there, Mr. Chair? As long as you blow on it, people think you're drinking coffee.
I don't know. I don't know about you, John, but anyhow, can I get an adjournment, a motion to adjourn? Mayor Bailey. Excellent. Okay. Well, we'll see everybody in March. Yeah, please.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. What time would that be on the March 17th?
1:30. And we are moved, and we are so adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Have a
also,
great day.
Councillor Sluss, I love the background and that you're wearing matching clothes to your background. That's
there you go.
I
can't let go of Christmas.